Welcome to Yoga How To, everybody. How you doing? Austin and
Amber.
here. Call it what it roll call
Roll
when
call.
you say here
Yeah.
for attendance. We're going to be talking about what it means to run a small business, what a small business is, and how reframing the idea of small business is a yoga prospect, is a yoga practice. Okay, let's get into it. Okay.
Okay, so Austin, when we say small business, what do we mean? And why are we questioning that language? Because that's kind of a part of what we're talking about today.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to do this. Well, small business is kind of just the generic way in which, like, you name things that aren't huge corporate conglomerates, and it creates this unconscious subtext that the business is somehow fragile and limited and temporary. So we've really been thinking about this lately, and we're trying to kind of reinforce energetically the idea of the businesses with this kind of energy that is not just conscious but also unconscious around making sure that our business is something that isn't fragile or temporary or anything less than, and in fact it thrives and exists in abundance. So we've kind of come up with some names in lieu of small business that we want you to consider thinking, because rather than small business, something like local business or community-based business or family-run business just creates such a stronger resonant vibration around language. And language matters in yoga, right? Like the truth of what we speak. So I'll ask you, the yoga parallel here about right speech. Is there like a yoga philosophy, a yama or niyama, where the words create reality?
I mean, there's a lot of ways I could take that. I wasn't expecting this question, but I mean, first off, vibration in the Samkhya system becomes reality.
Yes.
And vibration, words are vibration.
That's the start. Yeah.
That's one way to look at it. But also, yeah, we want to have this practice of satya, of truthfulness, and that includes language-wise, and that would, of course, then bring in like fifth chakra stuff in the energy body. But it's important to be aware of the language we use, because it does the vibration behind it, the meaning behind it, the subtle context behind it. It all adds up to something.
It all does add up to something.
And so I think being intentional is important, and that was something you brought up. Austin was like, I just noticed we use this term small business, and what does that mean, and is that a limiting thing to put? Is that
Yeah. Yeah, and a limiting unconscious label on something that we don't want to be putting limiting energy into. So,
right.
yep. Good. Okay. Now we're going to take a left turn, talking a little bit about, well, I don't know, this is a right turn or left turn. Maybe we're merging. This is a roundabout. So, kind of topic here is what challenges a local, family, or community-based business faces that big corporations with endless money don't face. So the first thing is, I think, accountability. So what does that mean to you, being a business owner now, that corporations don't necessarily have to abide by the same level of accountability as as a local business?
But and that's not a complaint. I mean, it's a complaint maybe that they don't have to, or that they choose not to. But I think it's good to have a level of accountability to your community, and then also to whatever you're doing. With us, it's yoga, so being accountable towards that the tradition, and respectful of it as much as possible, and I think that's
Well,
that's it.
and And again, comparing just a different facet of business between corporations and local businesses is margins. And some yoga studios, as we've been talking about lately, that are corporate owned, they are being run by businessmen.
Mm-hmm.
And
women maybe.
Or in women. And sometimes you're like, wow, these people have what seems like infinite access to the resource, and their scalability is incredible, and it's just like, how can you even compete with that? And really you can't. You have to do what you do well. Like, this is something we've long been invested in. But this other side of it too is that it's easy to compare and despair, but there's some advantage to be running the business as people who practice wholeheartedly living their yoga off the mat.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say it's easy to compare and despair, because I don't think we ever do that.
Well,
it would be easy,
it would
I guess.
be, yeah,
It could
would
be
be, it
easy
would
to
be
fall
easy.
into that trap of like, oh, even victimhood, like we don't have much and they have so much and this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine doing what we do and not being deeply committed to everything about it that's not a business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we weren't practitioners of yoga, if that wasn't a huge part of our lives, it'd be, yeah, I don't know. It's a different, it gives you a different viewpoint than like a big corporation. It's kind of like when I was in elementary school, and people who come into administration who were never teachers have a very different view of what education is than people who came to it as teachers.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think in the early days I used to compare, because I remember we started our studio 5 years after this corporate studio that I used to teach at, and they have well over 200 now, whatever, 20 years later for them, 16 years later for us, we have 2. There was a time where I was like, wow, this is an easy trap to fall into, thinking we're failures because we can't keep step with them. And now I'm like, running this business from a yoga philosophical practitioner standpoint is tricky with just 2 studios. Imagine doing that with 214 studios. The ethical, moral kind of responsibility, accountability that goes with it. I just wouldn't want that problem. So I'm just so grateful it didn't work out that way, even though there were times where I was like, as a business, shouldn't we just continually keep growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Isn't that the goal of business?
Well, and then there's a couple of good books out there about that. One, I think, is called shoot, I don't remember the name of either. It's been years since I read them, but there's kind of this idea in business that growth is the point. And I think a lot of times local businesses have a different take on that, and that allows them, because they have a different goal than just growth. I think local businesses can bring a lot more heart and a different perspective to things because of that. I mean,
Well, and speaking to that directly, I think that part of why I wanted to make this video is to explore reasons to keep voting with your dollars locally, and the pathos argument, understanding that the people that you care about who run these businesses, rent increases, property taxes, insurance, these things hit owners directly. They're not buffered into a margin. Owners are oftentimes janitors, bookkeepers, therapists, marketers. They're emotionally invested in ways where shareholders are buffered from it in a way where it is just about these bottom lines. And so I guess the reason that matters is because there is no disconnect from seeing that the decisions we make about how we run the business affect the people who benefit from the business, and vice versa. There is no disconnect. You see the reciprocity?
You see the reciprocity, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you think about like corporations having large, PR firms, HR firms, law firms, all these kinds of things, ability to absorb losses invincibly and over long periods of time, these are just not things that local businesses get the benefit of. And yet, another pathos argument of why it's important to invest in local businesses especially local businesses that are invested in what am I trying to say? We're invested in the community, is for that very reason. When you invest in a place that is local, that is invested in the community, your dollars go back into your community. That isn't the same case with a corporation.
Yeah. You're reinvesting in yourself, your family, your neighborhood, I mean, it just goes outward from there when you do that. And
Well, it creates culture.
yeah.
It creates community. It creates identity. And I think this is really interesting, is place-based identity, which is important because the world is becoming more of here's a fancy word, simulacrum of reality. These things are really important, that we actually have a physical thing and a third space. But to kind of push the argument further for local business, which I'm sure if you're watching this, we're preaching to the choir, but it's just good to put it out there, the logos argument of craftsmanship, that the diversity of what is offered in terms of a product, which it sounds weird to say with a yoga studio, but what you actually get out of it isn't being manufactured in a way to keep you engaging with it for the benefit of the business and the business only. We design things within our yoga studio that, yes, we want them to maintain solvency, of course, but we have direct relationships and connections with the people in the community, and we want these things that we offer to be real, not to be selling snake oil, and to be, not saying that corporations are necessarily, but we want to see the local community benefit from the goods and services that we provide. And that is unique. Okay, I got a question for you. So running a local, okay, here, see, I already did it. Running a local business, because we always get people who go through teacher training, not always, but several people who are like, okay, I'm going to go start my own yoga studio, or I'm going to go start my own yoga business. And that's great. We're always encouraging of that, and we want to see the pie grow bigger. But the truth is that people don't see or don't know some of the things, and you won't know what's going to end up testing your mettle in regards to how much more is involved in running a local business than just go plugging yourself in somewhere and letting somebody else take care of all the overhead. But there's an emotional cost to that, an emotional toll to it, I would say, an intellectual. So here's maybe a hard-hitting question. Have you ever lost a night of sleep over the business?
Yeah, I mean, you know that.
Like, I'll say, when I used to teach for other people, I never lost a night of sleep over anything other than, like, hopefully I'll get a sub tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it is just, it's a whole other level of devotion.
Yeah.
It's a whole other level of care, and
it's an all-in situation.
it is, and you do it wholeheartedly, and you
You can't do it half-assedly?
whole-acidly.
Whole-acidly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, of course so. And also, all of those, I don't want to turn this into a complaint, because I think so often you often see things where local business owners just complain about the hardships, and I would take them all again and again and 100 times over to get to do this. Like going through COVID maybe was one of the hardest things as a business. I think many, and I'm saying small business again, local businesses really understand this. And yet when you're passionate about what you're doing and you get to do it, it's okay. For me, it's about reframing. How can I show up in a way where I don't lose sleep about it? And that's where the yoga comes in, because the yoga is, how can you, when external circumstances are trying and challenging, how can you change your inner environment and be responsible for that? And so for me, that is where it tests my yoga again and again, is when we were just talking, and this might be why you gave me this question, because I had a hard night last night. And, it's again and again, it's like, okay, how do you change patterns of worry? Because your patterns that would show up in anything you do in life, they still show up as a local business owner. So if you are someone who worries, that shows up. If you are someone who stresses or who micromanages or who controls or who, whatever the thing is, it's going to still show up there. The MO outside of business still shows up in the business. And so it has to be, if you're doing yoga, an opportunity to see where you're bumping up against these edges and how do you want to change and be better for it, even though it's hard, I guess.
Well said. Yeah, I remember one time meeting somebody who, we were doing this leadership training, and this guy goes up to the front of the room and he goes, "I'm a corporate man. I love working for corporations. I would never want to work for a small business or own my own business." Or no, he didn't say I would never want to work for a small business, but I just would never want to own my own business. And I just thought, that's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that. And after all these years of doing this, I can understand that. I wouldn't want it, but I can understand it, because the way that you end up finding yourself, like you said, like so wholehearted, you cannot not do it wholeheartedly. There's no like, I don't want to work hard at this, or I don't want to care about it for the next 6 months. I'm just going to take off. That doesn't exist in local business, but these patterns of anything, right? Like whether it's worry or even the language that we use of like shifting from small business to local business, it's all a way of caretaking. And I think that's really why I want to do this, because I think that you do such a good job. You're such a great leader in the caretaking. Like there are a lot of things I know that, if you were to grade yourself on, you would probably be pretty hard on yourself in terms of like all the things that is required to run a local business. But the thing that makes you great is your caretaking, and that's what makes you a great leader with it. So I want to give you that compliment.
You're making me cry. Thank you.
Yeah, and so
likewise.
Stewardship is everything in terms of our business's sustainability. So I also don't want to end this video without just saying a huge thank you. If you have been a part of our community and you've stepped up in a way to be a steward in any way, shape, or form, those things matter to a local business in ways you cannot possibly imagine. So thank you so much. If you are like watching this wondering, well, how can I continue to support local business or lean into supporting local business more? Simply showing up consistently.
Telling other people about it.
Posting, leaving reviews.
And I think any local business owner would say this.
Yeah.
I think this is across the board.
And know that there's limits to local business. Like, I hate to say this, but like, I hate to be the guy who's like, in this economy. But we went to our favorite restaurant yesterday. My favorite Mexican restaurant in town, which it seems to be they're getting smaller and smaller, because I like local run Mexican restaurants, and my two favorites have closed down. So this one, de facto, but it's like you can see they're running on a ghost crew. They're running on fumes. It's like a 3-wheeled car rolling down the road. There's things that are unattended to, and it's just like, if I were going to have, going to a Chili's is not a cultural experience. It is not a enriching experience. You may not have to look at the floor and be reminded of your own humanity because there's something left unclean there, because that's what you expect from these kind of corporate franchises. Not saying our studio isn't clean. Our studio is clean, or this restaurant wasn't clean. But there are limits of things that that like I accept that it's like I might pay a little more at a local business. I might have to wait a little bit longer, and that's part of the craft in it. These things aren't cookie cutter manufacturing line products. Yeah, I think kind of in conclusion, like just this idea that conscious consumption is a practice. Just like self-moderation in yoga, right? Like what do we take in through the senses? Where is it coming from is just as important as how we choose what we allow in through our filters. So being responsible in your own right as a consumer has probably never been more important than it is now. What kind of community do you want to live in? What kind of local community do you want to live in? By the way that you choose to spend your money, the way that you choose to consume things, the way that you choose to get off the couch when, yeah, Netflix is really easy, but rarely do I ever watch a Netflix thing and think, wow, I'm enriched in ways that I'm surprised by, or I got something I didn't know I was going to get. You go out and you get into that social space with other people, you're almost always going to get more than you bargained for. To wrap up, what are some local businesses that we love? Just off the top of head.
I mean, we could name so many restaurants alone.
Yeah.
Burrowing Owl and The Joint.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take those two off the top.
Yeah. I like Poor Richard's, the bookstore, the pizza place, Rico's. Also Hooked on Books, in terms, because I was just at the bookstores yesterday. Those are right top of mind for me. Also, Gotham City Comics is really cool.
Say, yeah.
I love that place. Like
I assume they're locally owned. I don't even know.
Yeah, I can imagine. It seems it's locally run.
Mm-hmm.
Other local yoga studios, I just want you to know we're rooting for you. We're cheering for you. And I guess it's a good time to just say, what local business do you want to shout out? Leave a comment below. Did we miss something? Did we highlight something that resonates to you?
Yeah, I'm sure we missed something. So share those businesses that you'd love to show a little love to.
I do, and I want to say like Men's Exchange.
Oh yeah.
I really love the social ventures in town. Hillside. What's Hillside? Some of the nonprofits in town.
They're not a business. They're a nonprofit.
They're a nonprofit. Okay. But this is where the good stuff is locally. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Is like in Colorado Springs.
Kangaroo Coffee.
Kangaroo Coffee. Humble Coffee.
Oh yeah. Loyal.
Coffee. Yep. Love those places.
Switchback.
Yep.
We're gonna name all the coffee shops.
Go there for Kawa.
Oh
Kawa
my gosh,
coffee.
Kawa,
Yeah. I don't ever go to Starbucks. Starbucks is gonna see this and be like throwing shade.
Maybe.
That's all right. So anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you got something out of this today. Like, subscribe, share, and see you next time.